So we're talking about Dr. Sasha Barab, an explorer of interactive technology, whose name I'm probably butchering, and he's been doing a lot of interesting stuff out there, so let's check out a couple of things he's been working on. Dr. Barab has been studying the abilities and effects of educational technology since the 1990s. He has created several different online educational environments as a way to learn about the effects of such environments on learning outcomes. If you go to his website, Dr. Barab has a page that kind of outlines his main foci over the past 20 years or so. These have been divided into theory assumptions, design innovations, and research methods. We're going to be looking at two of the many design innovation projects Dr. Barab has worked on, the Inquiry Learning Forum and Atlantis Remixed. So we're going to start with the Inquiry Learning Forum. So this has been abbreviated as ILF, and it was created in the late 1990s. It was an online learning community that could be accessed through the internet. It was designed to create a space for current and future teachers to learn about inquiry-driven learning. And we've got a quote here from Dr. Barab himself. The ILF was designed around a school metaphor. When members enter the ILF, they had the option of visiting several rooms that are typical of a school building. Within these spaces, teachers could obtain or share lesson plans, view video examples of fellow teachers, engage in online discussions, and work online with groups focused around a particular topic or idea. Here we've got a screenshot from the original Inquiry Learning Forum, and as you can see, it is definitely late 90s. You can see on the date that it's October 20, 2000, and we're using Netscape as a browser. That should be a big hint. You can see by the design, pretty basic, pretty straightforward, clickable links, not a lot of heavy interactivity, but it does allow for some discussion, which we'll find out a little more about. Okay, so let's talk about the context of the ILF. It was implemented as an online meeting place where educators could discuss inquiry learning across a wide range of topics and practices via text-based discussion boards. So they were able to actually do inquiry learning about inquiry learning. Videos and information were available to supplement the discussions, and it was originally designed for Indiana teachers, but eventually the project was opened up so that any teacher anywhere could participate. The audience for the ILF was a little different. Most of the projects Dr. Barab has worked on have been targeted specifically to students and helping students engage more with their learning, but this was designed to provide education to teachers through collaboration. Here's a later design of the ILF. The role of teachers within the ILF was sort of interesting because teachers were both the students and the teachers. In other words, they were working together to learn from each other. The space was designed to provide collaboration opportunities so that teachers could learn from and with each other in a more relaxed and social setting. And that social element is going to be very important, as we'll see a little bit later. The learning objectives of the ILF were basically to increase the quantity and quality of inquiry learning opportunities for students in Indiana schools by helping teachers formulate better approaches to inquiry learning through an inquiry model. It was fully developed and actively used for about a decade, but it was closed down about 6 years ago, so in about 2010. So it ran for most of the first decade of the 2000s, which is pretty impressive for any kind of an online system. This project, as previously mentioned, was originally meant for Indiana teachers in science and math, but it was eventually opened up to, as Dr. Barab said, all teachers, school administrators, university faculty, and pre-service education students interested in inquiry-based teaching and learning, free of charge. And as also was previously mentioned, it ran for nearly a decade. Some interesting findings came out of the ILF. Barab and his colleagues found that while originally they started out looking at how to design the usability of the ILF to make the usability as easy as possible, they eventually needed to shift their attention to the sociability side of the equation in order for it to remain a worthwhile resource for teachers. There's a lot of feedback from the teachers throughout the site. They had purposely designed in several different techniques for teachers to provide feedback about the site and to really be co-designers of the site. And this idea, this focus on sociability as being a really important element, suggests that user experience within a learning community is incredibly important, because if users don't like it, they won't use it. If they don't feel comfortable there, they're not going to hang out there. So this could be something that could be applied across different projects as well. And this is backed up across multiple studies that examine and support the importance of the consideration of sociability when designing and implementing online teacher professional development in particular. This is a model from Smith and Sevo that hopefully points out the importance of sociability. You can see that sociability is directly linked to the continuance intention, whether or not someone wants to stay working on a particular topic or a particular area or keep working with a particular type of technology. Sociability is also directly related to social presence, whether or not someone is going to take part in the environment that's been designed. And then indirectly, sociability is going to be linked to gains that can be made through using a particular system, the perceived usefulness of the system, and the perceived ease of use of the system. So sociability is really a key factor when thinking about learning environments. So if nothing else, ILF can leave us with the takeaway that we should consider sociability when designing learning environments. The other project we're going to look at from Dr. Barab is Atlantis Remixed. Atlantis Remixed is a role-playing game that features different playable modules. Each encourages students to explore an online environment as a means of engaging students in virtual, authentic learning experiences. As we know, authentic learning is the most important kind of learning because it allows students to link what they're learning to their own lives. We can see that the design has changed significantly from ILF. Obviously, this is a much more recent game. The graphics are different, but also there's a much greater element of interactivity in this new game. The context of Atlantis Remixed. It's an extension of an earlier series of projects. It's a computer game that allows students to role-play a character within a virtual world in order to interact with characters so that they can learn about and hopefully solve a serious problem within that virtual world. There are two main modules to the Atlantis Remixed series. One is the Doctor's Cure, and the other, we can see the screenshot here, of the Mystery of Tiger River. And they both focus on different curricular elements, which will be discussed a little bit later. Atlantis Remixed is intended for students. They're presented with entire worlds in which they are central, important participants, places where their actions have significant impact on the world, and places in which what one knows is directly related to what they are able to do, and ultimately, who they can become. This is a screenshot from the Doctor's Cure, which also provides you with some idea of the kinds of tasks that are involved within these games and within these stories. There are different characters who help the students focus on different ideas, such as in this one we can see that the monster challenges questers to think about what it means to be human, and the doctor challenges questers to think about whether the ends justify the means they use to get there. So we've got some ethical situations that are raised in this particular module. Within the Atlantis Remixed experience, teachers are very important because the Atlantis Remixed experience is intended to be both online and offline. Teachers are expected to help students reflect on their experiences within the game and consider how they can use the knowledge and skills, particularly the thought process they gained within their academic pursuits. So the game takes place online, but teachers help to direct students in their conversations and discussions about the game. Here's another screenshot from the game, which you can see puts you in a first-person perspective throughout the game and allows students to interact with different characters in different ways, and also to explore the world. Each of the modules of this game focus on different content areas. The Mystery of Tiger River meets next-generation science standards, while the Doctor's Cure is designed to meet the Common Core ELA standards for persuasion. Here's another screenshot of the Mystery of Tiger River, and you can see that there are different elements related to different science standards. The Atlantis Remixed project currently has modules available online to download and play. So it is currently available. It's still in an ongoing development process. Teachers can make requests and suggestions for other new kinds of modules to be created. Here's another example of the Tiger River module. Okay, so when we start talking about the scale of Atlantis Remixed, according to Dr. Barab's site, more than 100,000 children on 6 continents have participated in the Quest Atlantis and Atlantis Remixed projects, submitting over 200,000 quests and completing over 300,000 missions, some of which were assigned by teachers and many of which were chosen by students to complete in their free time. So clearly, students are getting engaged in this on their own. Another screenshot from the Doctor's Cure module. We can see that the there's interaction between the characters in the game and the students as players. So this game system, this Atlantis Remixed concept, is based around transformational play, which is what occurs when students are immersed in virtual worlds that feature problems based on curricular topics, and in which the gameplay centers on students solving those in-game curricularly based problems. In such a situation, students transform their gameplay into embedded knowledge about the curricular topic, so it really encourages them to connect what they're doing in the game to their real-life situations. This is one of the reasons that it's important for teachers to guide the deployment of this so that students can make sure they are making those explicit connections between what they do in the game and their larger learning. Dr. Barab has been one of the leading researchers on the concepts of transformational play as an educational technology concept. But the concept of bringing play into the classroom to increase engagement and retention has been studied by others as well. It's actually a very interesting field to look at how play really can engage students, engage their minds in different ways than they might normally be engaged in a classroom, and yet still reinforce classroom learning and curricular topics. This is a model created by Dr. Barab and his colleagues to sort of lay out what transformational play, how it's related to different concepts. So transformational play ties the specific content to a particular context for an individual person by providing a legitimate task that requires intentional interactions that have lasting and/or immediate consequences. So when the students are playing the game, they are being engaged in very thoughtful ways in Atlantis Remixed. A well-designed game can incorporate these conditions within a curricularly based activity. Students are put into a position of agency as the player of the game, and their attempts to complete the task result in consequences that can reinforce desired learning outcomes. A lot of the information for this project has come from these sources, you can see. Got a few more over here. In case you are interested in finding out more about any of these topics, please feel free, dig in a bit. So, I've been Steve Tatro, bringing you this presentation. Thanks very much. I hope it was helpful. And definitely need to give credit where it is due. Thanks Slides Carnival for providing this great background.